welcome to another daily devotion. As this week we talk about our denomination, the United Church of Christ, and a little bit of what makes us who we are, some of the history behind who we are as a church. So today I want to share with you a little bit about an organization that came together called the American Board of Commissioners of Foreign Missionaries or Missions in 1810. That's going back a few years. But it was a combination of our Congregationalist ancestors and Presbyterians and a few others. And what is powerful about this is there was a group of students, 5 students at Williams College out in Massachusetts, that were caught in a storm. And they took shelter in a haystack, inside of a haystack. And as the storm passed, they looked and they thought, as they looked over the storm kind of tossed field, they said that the world is the field, and Christ calls us to plant seeds in that field, to harvest in the field. So they thought we need to work together to push our churches to think about the body of Christ universal throughout the world. It was famously called the Haystack Meeting, and out of it came a lot of powerful ideas. But one of the ones that I cherish is that the American Board of Commissioners of Foreign Ministries, very early on, again, 1800s, started to see what the United States government was doing to Native Americans, then just called Indians, and taking their land, Trail of Tears, forcing them onto reservations. And so Sam Worcester, one of the members and founders of the American Board of Commissioners of Foreign Missions, that's a mouthful, I know, he filed a lawsuit, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And guess what? The United States Supreme Court fell in favor of the churches and this Board of Foreign Missions, and said the United States does not have the right to displace these Native Americans others Indians off their lands. Now, Andrew Jackson saw this ruling, and it was a great victory, and he said, you know what? I don't care what this court says. Those Cherokees have to move. And so forced their relocation anyway. But the point being that very early on in the history of our forebears, the Christian church and the Congregational church, and yes, the German Reformed church, which is part of the E&R side of the United Church of Christ, saw what was happening to indigenous peoples in our country and said, we're sojourners here. We all came on boats from Europe seeking religious freedom, and now what we're doing to these native people are wrong. And so fought tooth and nail, established missions, and translated the Bible into Choctaw and Creek and Lakota and Sioux. And a lot of those missions are still there. And you could go visit one and go on a United Church of Christ mission trip to Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota, and have an amazing experience with the Lakota people. So an interesting needle in a haystack meeting there it is. A powerful part of our United Church of Christ history, of which I'm very proud. Just a little fact for you to stick in a feather in your hat. Of all the federal lands, the lands of treaties established between Native American tribes and the United States government, all the lands that were promised, guess how much Native Americans today actually live on those lands or own those? Right around 3-4% of all the lands to them. So that battle continues today, and proudly, our organization, our forebears, our church, was on the side of those who were being pushed off their lands. And our local church, one last piece of information, went up 2017 to for the energy transfer pipeline that was being put through Sioux reservations, the Lakota lands in North Dakota. Took up supplies and firewood and tents and cooking stoves for those who were protesting this bridge, this pipeline that was going to be put through their water supply. And through their ancient burial grounds that have already been stolen. And as of today, that pipelines has stopped production right now. So, and continue to fight the good fight, brothers and sisters who, unfortunately, through many of the shadow sides of our history, have lost much. Thanks for sticking with us for the devotion, and I hope you learned something new about the United Church of Christ.